Okay, so now we come to one of the most important parts of our cabin, of any cabin, and that is heat. Finally, after a while, we came across what's called mini stoves. They're called mini wood stoves. Now, I don't know the brand name. I'll look it up and put a link on there for you, but these are mini wood stoves, and there's an example right there. This is a wood stove. It's a legitimate wood stove. This is not a toy. So you see it's quite small, 15 inches tall, and it's about 10, 15 inches square as well. Cross and back. That's it. It's a whole darn thing. Yes, it has a door, swings open, and it's full of wood. And the door is just like any wood stove. Okay, it has proper glass, whatever it is in there, mineral glass, I think it is, and has a proper fireproof gasket around the outside. And the door closes like so. We'll put that down to hold it in place. This particular wood stove has two dampers. One here, which is at the back. This one goes way to the back, and there's this one here. You can see, actually, I don't know if you can zoom in there, you can see right here, this is at the front. So you can add more air at the back and more air at the front, or a combination of both to keep that fire burning just exactly the way you want it. And it works beautifully, just beautifully. It's not big inside, so we have to use small wood. The pieces of wood we use are less than a foot long, we use 8 to 10 inches long, and then when we want to put in a big hunk of wood, no, we don't get a long 16-inch log. No, it has to be chunks like this. It has to get through the door, right? But other than that, it's just like our wood stove in the house. You put wood in and set it on fire and heat the place up. One thing about this wood stove is that the heat from the wood stove is from here up. That's cold. Hence, we have a fan on the ceiling at the very peak of the ceiling blowing down. So all that heat that rises from the wood stove is pushed down to the floor and all around, heats the entire cabin. Just about that simple. One of the most important things was mounting the wood stove. First of all, we needed to have a place to raise the wood stove up off the floor. It would have been very inconvenient to have this wood stove down on the floor. It would have been a darn nuisance. It's not designed for that either. They actually come with a bracket. You can buy a bracket to mount them on a wall. Yeah. So I needed to get it up. So I built this stand. It's just a wood stand, top and bottom, shelf down at the bottom, good place to store wood. And then for protection, I put this ceramic tile on top. You can see this white, what looks like stone ceramic tile on top to protect it. So this is non-combustible. And then additionally, I got another 12-inch by 12-inch tile, clay tile, in the middle. This one here that the stove itself sits on. So the stove sits on a 12 by 12 clay tile, which sits on this ceramic tile, which is then on top of the wood shelf. So it's protected from the bottom. There's not a great deal of heat that goes down. So that is more than enough protection. What about the wall behind? Well, first of all, it has the right clearance. So here's what I did to be sure that our wood stove was perfectly safe. That we could not only start a fire, get warm, climb into bed and not worry, we could actually leave with the fire on. Not something we would normally do, but if you needed to or wanted to, you could. How did we make it perfectly safe? Well, as you can see, first of all, it's in a corner, which is good because you have more clearance behind. Secondly, I put this extra protection on. And what I did was I got some fireproof material. It's 1/8 inch thick. I wish I could show it to you. I can't. 1/8 inch thick fireproof material from Home Depot or wherever else. 2 sheets of that, and I put it right into the corner. So there's a sheet going on the wall, right into the corner on both sides. That essentially, it makes the wall non-combustible. Okay, so that's good. That's good. But then I had this piece of sheet metal, which I really liked, and I wanted to use that as well. So I cut the sheet metal in such a way that it goes to almost the full length of the chimney, right from the top of the wood stove table, if you like, and right up to the ceiling to where the chimney exits out the ceiling, out the roof. And I fastened that in there. But a couple of things let me point out. First of all, this corrugated steel backing does not go down to the floor, down to the bottom. You can see there, maybe you can zoom in there. If you zoom in there, you can see that white or grayish fireproof material that is fastened to the wall, protects the walls, non-combustible, that material under there. And then you can see that this steel corrugated metal starts about an inch, inch and a half above this table. There was a reason for that. A good reason for that. I think it's a good reason anyway. My theory is very simple. If you had put that right down tight to this table, you wouldn't get any airflow behind it. But with it set this way, 1 inch up, you're going to get airflow. Not only is you going to get airflow, but the air going in there is going to be cold air, or at least cool air, because all the heat's up here, you see? So the air down here, I'm pretty sure I'm right, the air down here will go into that crack and be drawn up behind the thing and come out the top. And it'll keep that steel cool. So you have the fireproof material against the wall, and then you have this curved steel panel. The steel will protect the wall more, and you have cool air flowing up behind it. I think it's fantastic. I think it works really well. It does work really well. We know it does, and I think it's a really good idea. If I may be a little immodest. Now, when you assemble all of this, you get all the instructions, you get all the materials. This pipe here is 3-inch, insulated. Yes, it's double wall, and it's insulated. I'm afraid I don't have a piece to show you, but there's lots of different ones. And you'll find that this pipe is double walled, and it's insulated. Okay, and that goes from the stove itself right out. It goes right up and right out to the chimney, right to the very top of the chimney, which is 3 feet above the roof, and on which there sits a spark arrestor. Now, in addition to that, one place which is very, very important is where this chimney pipe goes through the ceiling, because the ceiling is made of wood. Now, if you look up there at the ceiling, you'll see that when it gets close to the ceiling, about 6 or 8 inches away from the ceiling, there's a bigger pipe. Yes, this 3-inch insulated pipe goes into a 7-inch insulated pipe, double wall insulated pipe. So you have 2 double wall insulated pipes that actually go through the wooden roof and right out into the open air up above. So it's very, very well insulated up above. Now, in addition to that, you can't see it very well right now. In addition to that, the chimney does not touch wood, even though it's, I guess it's quadruple insulated. Anyway, 2 insulated double wall pipes, and that should be enough. But even so, you still don't want that pipe to touch wood. And so there's at least a 2 or 2.5 inch gap all the way around those pipes. And then to cover that hole, on the inside, you see I made 2 insulated plates. You can see them up there, how they overlap. And then on the roof, outside, before the final roof covering is put on. Oh, no, that's right, we put on the steel roof first. There is a special silicone, which is non-combustible material. I'll show you this in a minute. Silicone sleeve that slides down over the pipes, comes right down to your steel roof. It seals all the way around and is fastened with screws, and so no water comes down, and then the chimney continues up. And it has to work quite a ways. It's supposed to be, I think it's 30 inches, I'm guessing here. Now, it does stick up because this is a very steep roof. It sticks up quite a ways, unsupported. So I put a metal bracket in there. I just made up a metal bracket out of fairly heavy steel, 1/8 inch cold rolled steel, bent it so it was exactly the right shape, the right angles. It's fastened to the chimney with a clamp. Not a screw. I didn't puncture the chimney at all. Fastened to the chimney, sticking up there with a clamp, and then screwed to the metal roof and sealed. And the mini stove is fantastic. We just plain love it. On the top of the mini stove, if you take a look back down here, we have one of those heat-activated fans. It works. It starts up. It's amazing. It doesn't take much. It starts up and spins, and there's no battery, there's no power, nothing. It's just the heat. There's some type of a thermo-activated device in there that produces just enough electricity to spin that fan, and the fan blows air out into the room. So the heat coming up from the mini stove is blowing into the room. I hardly call it forced air heating, but it looks good. And there actually is a little blast, a light blast of warm air. You have to have some tools if you have a wood stove. So I made some tools. I literally made these out of some steel. I had some steel rod. I made a little shovel here, shaped it up, and a little scraper. You have to have a scraper for scraping out the ashes. I made these. They look cool. They suit the cabin. And I made a bracket, stuck on a piece of wood. I bought this. I didn't make this little blower. Getting the fire going in the morning, blasting the coals a little bit, and that looks kind of nice sitting there as well. Now, one last thing I want to talk about: fire safety. certainly in a confined space like this, is smoke detector. So we have a smoke detector up there on the roof. Diana, you can take a look at it where it's supposed to be mounted. Okay, above the wall, or on the ceiling. So any fumes that were coming up from the stove or from anything that was burning in this cabin would go up there. That particular smoke detector is a combined smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. So that's our heating system, and it works really well. In fact, I'm amazed at how quickly we can get a fire going and how quickly it heats up this little cabin. It's small, but it does a really good job. So there you go. That's our heating system in the cabin, and we're very proud of it. We did a good job putting it in. It's safe and very efficient and very warm, and it looks cool too. Anyway, there you go. That's our heating system.